This episode of SME Experts is brought to you by Business NBN. It's the business-grade solution that's available from internet providers to businesses on NBN's fixed-line access network, no matter how big or small. Business and job growth will not be restricted to Australia's central business districts, with access to fast broadband opening up greater opportunities for growth in suburbia and regional lifestyle areas. So to find out how Business NBN can help your business, speak with your internet provider today.
A Podcast One production.
Hi, I'm Mark Boris from The Mentor, and welcome to SME Experts. This series gives you access to my trusted team of mentors so that you can get the expert advice you need to make your business a success. I understand better than most that when you run a business, you are time poor. So after you've listened to this episode, go to mentor.com.au where we have all the resources, tools and templates waiting for you to make a start on improving your business. In this episode of SME Experts, Craig West from mentor.com.au speaks with Duncan Jones from Web Profits about how you can capitalise on your competitor closing down. For me, if your competitor is closing down as opposed to is closed down, you want to make sure that you get ahead of the game, find out their customer list, because this is a unique opportunity to expand your business for a very little cost.
Hi, I'm Craig West. And in this episode of SME Experts, we're going to find out how you can get a significant advantage when something happens to your competitors. For example, they shut down a business just near you that's been competing with you. How can you use that to grow your business through a really interesting digital growth consultancy? And we're joined today by Duncan Jones, who is the Head of Strategy and Growth at Web Profits. So thanks for coming in and joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
So firstly, you specialise in digital growth consultancy. Can you tell me what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, sure. So I work for a digital growth consultancy called Web Profits. We've been around for about 12 years. Started out as a digital agency focusing on SEO, then AdWords and those sorts of digital channels. But over time, we basically found that there's more ways to move the needle in terms of business growth. It's not just all about marketing, improving the product, improving the sales teams, doing anything we can to grow a company. So over time, we're focusing on the whole business life cycle, everything from startups and helping them develop their products to companies that want to do marketing. Marketing still makes up a big part of the work, but yeah, we're not limited now to just marketing. So we'll work with any company to grow them.
Sounds like a slightly different approach. I mean, I've talked to people before who specialise in SEO and AdWords, and you mentioned those, but you're talking about lots of other things. What are some of the other things that we might look at in terms of growing and marketing the business?
I guess this all came from frustration of you do an awesome job marketing. A client would then be their responsibility to close all the leads. They wouldn't be able to close the leads, so your marketing wouldn't be effective because you didn't get the sales. So right, we need to take control of that. So we developed, say, sales assistants, email sequences, and sometimes we've worked with different sales teams to help them actually close the leads because we knew that their business isn't going to grow from the marketing alone. We've had customers come on that have got unusual business models or pricing or the way they do things. So we have to really look at that before we can even do the marketing. So it was born out of necessity more than us wanting to go that pathway, but having end-to-end control to work with a client as if we're in their team, helping them grow their business, it's definitely effective.
So it sounds like you're much more integrated and involved in the day-to-day operational side of the business than just a digital agency that creates some assets.
Yeah, we try to get as involved as possible. Obviously, not all clients want us to have that level of involvement, but we basically want to have control over anything that will move the needle for growth. And if something's holding us back, we're going to say it and we're going to help out that client in any way possible. So we've got a service that we call Fluid Marketing, which is where they pay one retainer to get a team of experts, and basically plug in whatever specialist we need at any time. So it could be someone to help develop the website, develop the UX, the user experience, help with onboarding, of course, all the marketing as well. Those teams that we create for a client, basically, there's basics that you have to roll out, AdWords, social, like you've had on the podcast before. There's all those ones that you have to roll out, and we still do those. But then you run out of ideas. You run out of things once you've got a perfect AdWords campaign. Your website's perfect. I mean, it's never perfect, but once it's working well, you need to come up with other ideas. So we basically work with the teams. We get the client and as many people from the client's company as we can and get a big brainstorm going, usually off-site. So sometimes we've got 20, 30 people there, everyone from the receptionist, the sales person in their team, everyone across their whole company and our team basically brainstorm growth ideas to come up with any way that we can grow the business, whether that's improving the product, the marketing, anything really.
So you're talking ideas sort of outside the square and outside the normal, marketing advice that you get, improve this, do this on your social, etc. What sort of ideas do you come up with? Like, give us an example of something that's come out of one of those sessions. It's a bit different.
We had hire Alf Stewart, off Home and Away from back in the day, just because he was stone the Flaming Crows. We're working with when the NBN was had all the issues, and we wanted to get him front and centre. Obviously, that didn't make it. Some things are too expensive. We've got a client in the telco space, like I just mentioned, and we knew that there was a huge tech enthusiast based on Reddit. You can't really advertise on Reddit that well. It's a forum that they just hate people advertising on there. So what we did is we connected up the CEO, the telco CEO, to the people on Reddit and did an Ask Me Anything thread where basically anyone in Australia could ask a telco CEO what was actually happening with the NBN. And he's open, honest, and built quite a following on there, which is great.
You mentioned Reddit.
Yep.
Explain that a little bit more for those people that don't know what that is or how do you use it.
Yeah, so Reddit's a forum. It's very tech enthusiast heavy. Males and females 20 to 30. Yep. And it's basically a place where people can share news, they can talk to each other. They have these threads called Ask Me Anything, which means famous people have been on there. Barack Obama, I think, went on there at one point. So we just figured that let's get a telco CEO in there so that people that care about the NBN and why it's not been rolled out correctly, perhaps, can speak straight to a CEO and get those answers. And that worked well for them and built a loyal following for them in that community, which is their target market.
It's an interesting sort of angle. I haven't heard that before. I guess what you're talking about, though, is not just driving traffic and leads and inquiries into a business and hoping it works out, but taking it to the next level and saying what happens to that lead, who talks to the person, what contact do they get, what documents do they see, how does that work?
Yeah, definitely. There's no point getting a lead or a sale if it then doesn't translate. We care a lot about lifetime value. Lifetime value is the key to digital marketing success, and lifetime value involves either making the person repurchase or, if it's an ongoing product, keeping them on as a customer. So the journey doesn't end once you get a lead or a sale, and I think that's where most digital agencies fall over. They think that their job is, I got you 20 leads this month. We think the opposite, that your business has to grow month on month for us to be excited. Obviously, all the ideas that we come up with aren't great. There's no bad idea, but they're not all the best ideas. So we use a prioritization model called ICE. Essentially, we score each idea on what impact it will have on the business if it succeeds, how confident we are that we're right, that it will succeed, and the ease of implementation. The ease of implementation is a big one. If you're going to build a big tech tool that you think will move the needle, but it takes you 6 months, it's not going to get a good score for ease of implementation. You should be rolling out the things that will grow your business the most, that are the easiest to roll out, and that perhaps you've done before. It's a pretty subjective way of scoring, but at least if you're fair across all your ideas, you'll have a list to start rolling out.
Yeah, and you start with the ones that have got easy rollout, high impact.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And you're confident because you've done something similar.
Yeah, because you've already done it before.
The client's confident because it worked in the past. And that means that keeps you on track because there's a lot you can do. And if you're not limited by channel or type of thing that you're going to do to the business, you can go off track pretty easily. So this keeps you on track to grow month on month.
Perfect. So you mentioned before different ideas and so on. I know one of them that you use is around a competitor struggling or closing down or moving out or something. That's unusual. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. So once you've set up everything, you have to get creative with the ideas. So one of the ideas that someone on our team had was looking at competitors that were closing down in a competitive space. And there was a lot of competitors closing down. So we decided the telco that we were working with was Aussie Broadband, and the competitor that went out of business was Mungie. There's now 300 NBN resellers, I think, from memory,
wow.
Which means some of them are going to struggle. The ones that don't have their marketing right, their offering right, etc.
Sure.
So we noticed that some of the competitors had started going out of business. It's been about 3 or 4 more now, and we decided that we could do something to leverage that. So we came up with a tactic where a bunch of tactics of what we would do if a competitor went out of business. It doesn't happen all the time. It's pretty unusual. Some industries, perhaps retailers and things, there's a lot more. Some there's not, booming industries, but there's always competitors that come and go. So we figured that we should have that tool in our arsenal for across all our different clients if it does.
And so how do you implement that? You know, I've got a let's say, a retail business, clothing store in a suburban shopping strip, and one of my competitors up the road closes down.
Yeah.
Why? Well,
why would they choose you?
Why? Yeah. Why do we? What do we need to do?
Yeah. So across the board, both retail and competitors online, step one is to create an offer that's so good that you're the default choice for them. When a competitor is closing down, the customers have got a choice. They can go somewhere else. If it's a repeat business, they have to make a decision if they want to keep using that service. You need to make sure that you are that default decision. So it's good to come up with an amazing offer for those customers. It might be, if you're way more expensive than the competitor, it might be that you price match for 6 months to help them through that transition period. It might be, I remember when Dick Smith went under, Kogan, Woolworths, and a bunch of others, the gift cards were worth nothing, but they basically said, we'll help you redeem them, not at full price, but I think it was like $40, $50 they gave you for a $100 gift card. Yep. So better than nothing.
Better than nothing, yeah.
There's a company called Cryosite, and their competitor was StemLife. They store umbilical cords, and I won't go into that, but for medical research, and their company StemLife went bankrupt. They actually offered all of their customers free storage for the whole time for their 18 years. Now, they didn't make any money out of that, but people have more than one baby. So eventually they got in the news, they got PR. So there's lots of different creative things you can do in terms of an offer, but it has to be a good offer because otherwise you're just one of the other companies.
So that's the key first step. Create an offer that's so attractive, they just go, bang, I've got to go there.
Yeah.
And then what?
Step two is to
come there.
Step two is to create a landing page that tells you about the offer. So create a page on your website or a separate landing page. You have to talk about the things that they will be facing are different than your normal customers. They'll be worried about the transition. They'll be worried about what happens if the data's involved, like how their data will transfer across and things like that, which you have to address their concerns. And then it's about getting that landing page in front of the right people. That's the hard part.
You made an important point there, though. It's not about just directing them to your normal website and saying, here we are. It's a special homepage that caters to their specific concerns.
Yep.
Transitioning across from one supplier to the other, et cetera, data storage, whatever you mentioned. Yeah.
To get the best results.
Yeah,
obviously, it depends on timing. If you can't get that up, send them to your website. It's better than nothing. But yeah, if you can address their specific concerns, you'll get way better results.
Is that what you mean by competitor campaign? Is that the campaign part, or that's the first step?
So now we've got our offer. We've got a landing page that describes the offer and addresses their concerns and things. Now we have to actually get the page in front of those people. It's not you don't get a list of your competitors' customers, right? So there's lots of different ways of doing that. One of the primary ways that should be the first thing you do is to get an AdWords or a Bing campaign live, bidding on the competitor's brand name. So the company Appster just went into liquidation. It was in the news everywhere. They're a software and app development company. What happened then was three pretty crafty competitors started bidding on Appster's brand name with, I don't think any of them had offers for Appster's customers, which would have made it better, but they were quite fast with how they moved. We did it again with Mungie. We had a special offer for them. Any customer that had NBN internet through Mungie, obviously when you hear your company's gone bankrupt, you're like, what should I do? And searched for the brand name, and we had an offer there, right there and then, to target those customers. So that's a primary way to get in front of them.
This episode of SME Experts is brought to you by Business NBN. It's the business-grade solution that's available from internet providers to businesses on NBN's fixed line access network, no matter how big or small. The recent Connecting Australia report commissioned by NBN, which can be found on their website, reinforced their commitment to supporting Australian businesses. From the entrepreneur in their living room, to the ICT manager in their home office leading a remote workforce, to the CEO in their high-rise office, there's a Business NBN plan to help them reach their business ambitions. So to find out how Business NBN can help your business, speak with your internet provider today. You've mentioned bankruptcy, liquidation a couple of times. They've obviously got processes they need to go through in terms of liquidation process or administration. How are you using that? Like, what's the advantage there?
Yep. So another thing you can do is you can definitely contact the liquidators. So companies that, I think you're an accountant by trade, so you know a lot more than me, but companies that go into bankruptcy will have liquidators or receivers that basically try and sell off either the company or the assets to recover money for the shareholders and creditors. So you can use that to your advantage and contact them and essentially see what they might sell you. They might sell you the entire business. You might not be able to afford it. You might not want to buy it if it's closed down. They might just sell you part of that business. So Kogan, for example, they didn't want to buy all of Dick Smith's stores. They just bought Dick Smith's online shop and rebranded it all Kogan. It's basically like a reskinned version of Kogan. That was pretty valuable for them. They've now got 2 ads on every keyword that you see, one for Dick Smith, one for Kogan, which increased their traffic a lot. For Aussie Broadband, we worked with them to buy the Mungie domain name. So if you type mungie.com.au now, you'll be redirected to Aussie Broadband site.
Right. And you bought that from the liquidator, assumably?
We bought that from the liquidators.
Right. Okay.
The Aussie Broadband bought it.
Yep.
And that essentially meant that anyone that typed it in and wondered what was happening to their service could actually just go get redirected to Aussie Broadband and sign up for a new service. We also, the added benefit of that is you get to transfer the SEO benefits. So every link that they've built over time will actually now be pointing at Aussie Broadband. So we're ranking for the word Mungie, and it helped, a lot of the SEO rankings.
You mentioned buying, for example, a domain name from a liquidator and so on. That'll help you to a certain extent because people will be still looking for that domain or going on that domain. What about the customers? Dick Smith had, presumably, thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of customers. How do we go and get them? Because they're probably not going to give you the list, right?
No, they're not going to give you the list. We have bought it off a liquidator before, the list of customers, and been able to email an offer to their customers, but that's not going to be an option all the time.
Correct.
They were only charging, with the liquidators, make sure you negotiate quite hard. They don't really know the value of these assets. Maybe they do, but not all of them, so it's worth negotiating quite hard. The ways that you can get in touch with their customers would be, if you think back to all the clients you've got, who did you lose to that competitor? Who did you pitch to and lose to a competitor? What, say, case studies or testimonials can you identify that were on the competitor's site that were saying they were using it? What reviews have been written from different customers? There's lots of ways you can identify the customers that were using your competitor. Then it's about outreaching to them. Obviously, you need to be pretty empathetic. It could be not a good time for them if they've lost half of their app development. So you've got to be pretty sensitive. But if you do have a good offer, you're just contacting them to let them know about the offer. So, just be empathetic if you're reaching out to them.
The Kogan example with Dick Smith, I mean, they reached out and said, we'll value 50%, I think it was, of the gift voucher, which was absolutely worthless if they didn't do that.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a lot of people knock that back.
No.
Might as well get $50 instead of losing $100.
Yeah. As long as you're not coming up with your face, etc. Yeah. It's about coming up with something sensitive to help those customers.
Okay. And are you using social media as well to do that?
Yeah.
Is that part of your strategy?
I mean, people, when they're really annoyed, they definitely get... they speak on social media, right? So if a company's gone into liquidation, it's good to monitor all the social channels, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and see if any customers are talking about it. I remember BestJet, a company that did airline bookings.
Yep.
They went into liquidation, and they basically, anyone who had booked flights through them in the future lost their flights or didn't know what was happening with their flights. So that could be an opportune time for, say, Qantas or a Virgin to reach out to their customers and see if they can help in any way. They might not get the sale, but it certainly looks good. They might be able to convert people over to their airline to rebook. So definitely monitor social media during that time.
Company goes broke. It's got, in terms of people like Dick Smith and so on, large numbers of employees working in the business. They're all looking for a new job. Do we get involved in that? Is it something that's worth considering, what you do with employees?
Yeah, definitely. If you've got opportunities to hire someone who better than someone that's worked on your competitor in the brand and that you can learn a lot from, even if you don't have capacity then and there, it might be worth getting a few of the different competitor staff on just to audit your own business. Obviously, you've had one of your own major competitors go out of business for a certain reason. You need to make sure you don't have that exact same problem or you could be next. So auditing your own business and being self-reflective and looking what you could improve your own business is a major thing as well. And you could do that yourself, or you could actually use the staff of the competitor who might need to be helped out over a short term.
Yeah, and who will know a lot of the history and a lot of the issues and what went wrong and where they fail and
the past customers, which will help for reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's part of the strategy overall.
Sure.
The whole concept of, and I don't like to use, it's not really predatory, but the whole concept of focusing on customers going bad and using that to grow your business, does that leave a bad taste in some people's mouth, or is it something that people go, oh, geez, I'm not really 100% comfortable with that?
Yeah, it could do. But as long as you're offering something that actually helps their customers, what are you doing really? You're giving them a discount, you're giving them a better offer than they could by going to you direct and getting in front of them. As long as you're genuine, you're nice to the people and you help them out, I don't think there's any reason that you shouldn't do it. It's not going to move the needle. You're not going to have a competitor going out of business every single week that you can rely on. But
you hope not.
It's just something that you should have in the back of your head to action if they do, because a lot of businesses, I think, see competitors go out of business. A month later, like, I should have done something about that.
Yeah, you're quite right.
One of the key things you have to do is speed. Even if the things I've discussed today, you can't get it all done. If you just get some of it done as fast as you can, like getting AdWords ads up on the brand name, that's pretty fast to do, then that's better than nothing. So I'd definitely stress that speed is one of the most important factors.
And therefore preparation. So think about this, have a bit of a plan. If this happens, I'm going to do these 10 things, and here's how, and here's who I need to talk to, and I need to ring you, or I need to ring someone to get the AdWords set up if you're not that expert on that.
Yeah, that's right.
To have a plan so that you're not sitting there going, gee, I wonder if I should do anything.
Because if you don't do anything, I bet some of your competitors will. Even if all you're doing is increasing your marketing budgets, if a big competitor goes bust, what you'll find is that the search volume for your industry increases as the people are looking around for alternatives. Maybe you can't do everything else, but you don't want to be capped out by your budgets. So it might be the opportune time for, say, 2 or 3 weeks to double your budgets and to see what results you can get, because there'll be a lot of people in the market looking to change providers at that one time. So it's a good time. You'll get good conversion rates, good cost per sales, etc.
Yeah, so if I've shopped at Dick Smith Electronics for 5 years online, suddenly they're not there, the first thing I'm going to do is go to Google and go, who else can I get me electronics from, and where do I buy them, and how do I,
obviously
that makes a lot of sense.
Every industry is pretty different.
Sure.
But if you've got, especially ones that have got an ongoing relationship, if they're paying a company ongoing, then this type of tactics work the best because they have to go somewhere or not do the service at all.
Or not do it anymore, yeah, that's right. In terms of this space of competitors and using that to grow your own business, have you got a number one tip for people?
My number one tip would be not to rely on any tactic you hear from people like me. That's not going to be the same for every business. The number one tip would be to get everyone in your company, your advisors, the agency, all in the same room, preferably off-site, and get them thinking of every single way they could grow your company. There's some amazing ideas that you can get from people that you wouldn't necessarily involve in your business decision-making if you let them speak. Jot down all the ideas in a spreadsheet, have someone taking notes, and score them, prioritize them, and work out what you should focus on. If you do that every 6 months, we do it with clients, some of them every year, some of them every 3 or 4 months, as you run out of ideas to roll out. But some of the ideas we get are awesome, and we never would have thought about it otherwise.
That's an awesome tip. And you're talking about prioritising, using that ICE method again, scoring them, and then starting at the top.
And then just rolling them out. Heaps of ideas will fail. You'll come up with some brilliant ideas that do nothing for your business growth. But the ones that do succeed, it's all about scaling them up then, getting as much out of them as you can, and then moving on to the next idea. Some of the ideas will only last for a short term as well. So if you can focus on the ones that will, like you'll do it by scoring the things, but if you focus on the ones that will last as long as possible, then that's great. So a competitor campaign might not actually score that high. It's a great tactic. It's interesting. But there might be ones that are more important to do first that will give you scalable growth ongoing.
So it's a bit of a growth, like a hackathon, just sitting there saying, okay, what are the 20 things? Let's narrow it down. Let's prioritise them and let's go and try them. See what works. The ones that don't, get rid of them. The ones that do, let's ramp them up.
That's right. Spot on.
Thanks for coming in today. It's been really helpful.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Now that you've heard from the expert, go to mentor.com.au and you'll find the tools and resources you need to take the next step towards a successful business.
SME Experts was presented by Craig West and created in collaboration with Podcast One Australia. Producer Liv Proud, sound production by Darcy Thompson. To hear more episodes, go to podcastone.com.au. Download the Podcast One app or search SME Experts on Apple Podcasts. This episode of SME Experts is brought to you by Business NBN. It's the business-grade solution that's available from internet providers to most businesses, no matter how big or small. All businesses have different internet needs. That's why it's critical to select the right Business NBN plan. Business NBN can help offer choice, flexibility and reliability to keep businesses moving. Businesses on the fixed line NBN access network can choose from a range of internet providers, offering customised solutions. It's built for better business. Ask your internet provider about Business NBN today.